Welcome, everyone. I'm Sherry Chaney-Jones. I'm the president and CEO of SureImpact, founder, I guess I should say, the founder and CEO of SureImpact. And we're going to talk a little bit about today, a couple things, our new Insight Innovators Cohort model that we're launching in January, as well as doing a quick demo of SureImpact so you have a better understanding of what it is. We'll be announcing all of the details about the program, how to apply, things to consider as we move forward into the new year. So I'm, again, very excited to introduce our new SureImpact Insights Innovators Cohort. This is a very first time we've offered this, this program in this way, and we'll talk about what is involved. But first and foremost, who is SureImpact and what do we do? So SureImpact is a technology platform, but our mission is to empower nonprofits with data-driven decision-making. So we are more than a technology platform. We believe that nonprofits need access to their impact data in real time in order to be successful and truly achieve their mission. So that is the way we deliver it, right? We create an impact measurement platform, but we also want to equip and provide the tools, the resources, the knowledge, and the skills to build up a high-performing nonprofit sector. So I imagine that, because we hear this every single day, that as a busy nonprofit executive leader, you've likely experienced some of these challenges in the past. You may have struggled with demonstrating your impact. So funders are asking you, tell me quantifiably with numbers, what is your impact? Maybe you've had limited access to real-time data. What we hear all the time from busy nonprofit executives is that they're a grant opportunity or they're preparing for a pitch to an invited funding proposal, and they want access to information related to three types of data. What did you do? How well did you do it? And how people and communities are better off. And in order to have access to that information, either you don't have it or you have to go bother your program team, and it takes a lot of time to get that information to answer those questions. And so that leads to a struggle to secure funding. You may be missing out on grant opportunities. You might be missing out on ways to clearly communicate your impact and stand out from the crowd, making fundraising different. And you may have then inefficient or lack of program evaluation processes that these funders are requiring in order for you to get to that next level of funding. So if you've had any of those challenges, I completely understand. We see that happening a lot within the social sector, and I've experienced those challenges as well. So I'm going to share two stories that have really shaped not only SureImpact and how we approach impact measurement, but also kind of what shapes this cohort model and this coaching and this teaching that will wrap around the executive nonprofits. So early in my career, I was hired to be the Deputy Director of Performance Evaluation with the Franklin County Domestic and Juvenile Courts. So, and this was quite some time ago now. We're looking at almost 2 decades ago. And at that time, the government sector, specifically the federal government sector, was moving towards outcomes-based funding. And so if you wanted to attract large federal grants, with our court did, we knew that we needed to start collecting and analyzing data. So my court director was very innovative. I was the first person who ever had that role. Prior to me joining the team, there was no evaluation, no impact measurement going on within the juvenile court. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how we want to look at it, is the glass half full or half empty? As I started to implement the strategies that now we have automated through technology, but back then it was more human manual processes that I was managing. But as we started to implement our impact measurement frameworks and collect the data, we discovered that some of our programs unintentionally were making things worse for young people. They were actually more likely to go back into the juvenile justice system than be habilitated and living thriving lives, which was obviously our goal. And so, but the story, the good news of this story is that we were able to then use what we were learning in our program evaluation efforts to transform these programs. We started to see in a very short order, like 18 months, we started to see reduced recidivism into the juvenile justice system, as well as decreased number of bed days. We were doing very significant work well before George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, but we were doing very significant work related to reducing disproportionate minority contacts within the juvenile justice system, because we had the data and we had the knowledge to help us change lives and change circumstances. And we were also able to use this to attract very lucrative grants from the Ohio Department of Juvenile Justice, as well as from the federal government and Ada Casey. And so we were during this period, we were getting a lot of data or a lot of new money, because we had this data, even though it started from a place of, oh, wow, these programs aren't as effective as we wanted, but we were able to leverage that data, leverage that story to attract more resources and transform these programs. So building on the success of what I had done at the juvenile court, I went on to then evaluate long-term care programs with the state of Ohio. Same thing. Our director was very innovative, and she knew that these federal funds, now government funding, there was a movement to want to see outcomes. And she also knew that if we had the data, we can invest in the most effective nonprofit programs. And this was during the Great Recession, where there was zero money to be had from state funding, because at the time, tax receipts were completely down. And in Ohio, you have to balance a budget. So if there are no tax receipts coming in, there is absolutely no money to distribute to out back into the social sector, whether it's a good program or not. So we were just seeing significant draconian cuts happening across the board within the government sector. However, because a few years before this, our director had invested in impact measurement and this commitment to deliver and to collect this data, that when this crisis fell upon us, we were prepared, we were ready. We had the data that proved how our programs were saving the state of Ohio $250 million in Medicaid. So when the legislature came to us and said, we need to cut your program by 20%, we went, whoa, 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 whoa. If you do that, you're actually going to be increasing the Medicaid spending, not decreasing it. And as a result, we fully got our money back in the state budget, where we saw across the board our sister agencies get completely cut. And so with these two experiences early on in my career, I felt called to help as many nonprofits as possible have the right data so that they could scale their impact. They could truly make a difference in the lives of their communities, just like, the young people the lives were being improved by the work we were doing at the juvenile courts, because we were taking data-driven decision-making. And then the same thing with the work at the Department of Aging. We were able to save more than 9,000 seniors having to transition to a nursing home, because we were able to have the money to keep them in their own homes. So I left state government and found a company called Measurement Resources. Measurement Resources was an organization, was an organizational development and research firm. And we work with thousands of nonprofit leaders every single year, helping them develop their impact measurement framework. So I was working with all of these executive leaders, helping them understand what data should they collect, how should they collect it, how to create these data-driven stories. I also published a book related to the framework of creating these high-performing measurement cultures called Impact and Excellence. And so about 10 years into this work, educating, training, flying all over the country, helping nonprofits create these high-performing measurement cultures where they were aligning their mission, their culture, their performance, had impact data, or at least impact data systems. What my clients were coming to me and saying is, Sherry, we absolutely love the insights that your firm is providing us, but we're still very reliant on your team. We're still very reliant on a human. So if, we have a grant opportunity ready to come, we have to call your team. They're going to scramble to get the data. Or if we lose the funding to support you, pay for your services, we don't have access to that data. What technology should we be using? So we should have this at our fingertips. And as I went to explore what technology I would recommend, I learned that the technology that I wanted to see on the market to recommend to my customers didn't exist. So that's where I took the leap of faith and said, well, I want to build the software platform that I want to see in the market to facilitate real-time impact measurement for the nonprofit sector. And so that's how SureImpact was born. Is really listening to the nonprofit sector, hearing what their needs are, hearing how they need the data they need to report to funders, to tell their story, to drive data-driven decision-making. So the old world, prior to SureImpact, and many of you might still be living in this old nonprofit world, is that you're doing your very best, but you're basing your decisions on intuition. You're maybe being reactionary because your N, that's such a data-driven term, but your sample is very limited, and you're getting anecdotes, and you're making decisions based on anecdotes and intuition, which is okay, but you have limited access to data to make those data-driven decisions, and therefore you're being reactive to program adjustments. And we want to introduce you to a new world. We want to paint a picture of what is possible and what our SureImpact customers are experiencing every single day. And just kind of the background of SureImpact, we launched into market in February of 2020, and now we have more than 400 nonprofits using our platform every single day to allow them to make data-driven decisions. So imagine a world that in your board meetings, in your management meetings, in your staff one-on-one meetings, you could pull up a SureImpact dashboard and start to have conversations related to trends you're seeing in the organization related to your impact. Having access to those real-time impact data, and therefore making proactive program improvements, going to funders, writing grants, and saying, these are the trends we're seeing in our programs, and we know for a fact from data that we want to make these adjustments, and if we do, we could really scale impact. And so before I launch in and show you how SureImpact works, I want to talk about just some common mistakes that I see nonprofits make. And, regardless of if you choose to join this cohort, you choose to adopt SureImpact as your impact measurement platform, I want you to walk away today at least with understanding what you should be focusing on when you're becoming more impact-centric, and maybe what some common mistakes you should avoid. And after this, we're actually going to be sending some follow-up materials related to a guide that is uncovering myths. So some common myths that we see nonprofits are believed to be true, and why they're not true anymore, and some stories of how organizations have overcome those myths. So what we want to be doing in our organizations to be high performing and data driven is we want to have clearly defined goals and outcomes. That's number one. We can't manage to what we don't measure, and what we focus on grows. We want to make sure that as part of this process, you're clearly defining your goals and outcomes, and that you are building a culture that values data related to this. At the end of the day, nonprofits are in the business of changing lives and changing circumstances. Therefore, it is very important that you're building a culture where you are using that data related to your mission to make decisions. I know so many organizations are so focused on financial metrics, and that makes a lot of sense, because if you don't have the resources to do your work, you can't do your work. But if that's all you're focused on, you could totally be missing the mark. And I can tell you story after story of how organizations who are only chasing the money and focused on money totally miss the mark on delivering high performance and value and impact in the communities. And you want to make sure, though, that in order to value data, you have to build the capacity for data collection and analysis. Just like you have to have staff that are proficient at delivering the services that your nonprofit provides, part of being a high-performing nonprofit is prioritizing data, analyzing that data, and using that data. But the good news is we don't have to hire data scientists. Most nonprofits don't have the budgets to hire those very knowledgeable, wonderful data scientists that are out there in the world, as I was back in my early career. But we now can have technology that will do the work of a full-time $120,000 a year data scientist for less than 10% of that cost. And so we want to take advantage of the tools and the technology available to us to make this easy. So some things to avoid. Be very disciplined about not relying on solely anecdotal evidence. We love that success story. I always like to talk about the, disclaimer, results are not typical, when, if it's a drug commercial or weight loss commercial or something like that. So we want to make sure that we are making programmatic decisions on real trends, not just, the squeaky wheel negative or the super exuberant positive. We want to make sure we understand what's happening to the majority of the people that we serve. Also, a trap that we see nonprofits get themselves in all the time is they are relying on one person to collect and analyze data. So this can look in a variety of ways. The first, it could look like you've got a really great staff person today, and they're rocking it and knocking it out of the park. And if that person, spouse gets another job and chooses to move on, or goes to, decides they want to stay home and take care of their mother, or whatever situation we find ourselves in life, when that person leaves, now your organization is in a world of hurt. And I will be completely honest that both of those two organizations that I was serving in as the deputy director of evaluation, when I moved on to my next organization, those, because they were manual processes, these were decades ago, they didn't have technology that was automating this. So when I left, a lot of those practices left with it. Same thing when my firm was providing these services to the nonprofits. When those nonprofits no longer had the funding to pay for our consulting services, the access to impact data went with it as well. And so, you may have a very well-meaning board member who says, my cousin's in graduate school, and he could help you build this system. But what happens when that cousin gets a great opportunity at Google or something else, and now he or she is no longer there to help you? And also, do not invest in expensive systems that do not provide you outcomes. I see this happening all the time, that nonprofits, they kind of get excited about maybe the bells and whistles of some sort of tool, or they hear some cool things about AI and they go all in, but they haven't really evaluated, does this provide us access to our outcomes? Can we tell an impact story at our fingertips with this particular piece of software? And so make sure that as you're evaluating the opportunities for you, that you do have access to outcomes that are related to those clear goals and outcomes. And if you do not have anything that does that, then that's not the right solution for you. And lastly, do nothing when impact data are required. So kind of burying our hands in the sand and believing that we don't have to adopt impact measurement systems in 2025, that would be detrimental to your organization. We are getting to a place in the funding landscape where having access to impact and outcomes data is no longer a luxury. It is no longer available, or only required for the best of the best. The wealth transfer that is happening back to the Gen X and millennial donors, they expect this. They have grown up in organizations that have dashboards and KPIs and knowledge related to the results of their work, and they expect the social sector services to be there as well. I've spent a lot of the last 4 years trying to fundraise to build SureImpact. And as I'm doing that, I get a lot of questions from business leaders, investors who invest in technology solutions, and they kind of look at me like, why is this needed? Why hasn't this been built before? And I have to explain to them how, well, the nonprofit sector has been extremely undervalued in terms of tech solutions. And we're really proud to have built something to bring to the nonprofit sector that is built for the nonprofit sector. So I'm going to go ahead here and switch my screens and do a quick demo of SureImpact, so you get a sense of how SureImpact helps your organizations track what you do, how well you do it, and how people are better off. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick demo, and then we'll talk more about the invitation to join our Insight Innovators program here. And so you will want to stay to the end here so you can learn more about this opportunity, very exciting opportunity coming up in January. So SureImpact is built for the nonprofit sector, like I mentioned. We know that you, unlike other tools, and I'll be very frank, a lot of the other software tools out there that are being marketed to nonprofits actually were built for sales teams. They were built for people who wanted to take a prospect and turn them into a paying customer. Those have their place. They might work well for your donor management team or your fundraising team, but it's not why you're in business. Yes, managing donors is very important, and I highly recommend that you go find that best-in-class donor management system for you. But what SureImpact is designed to do is the other side of the house, your programmatic side of the house. It is specifically designed for you to track who are you serving, what are you doing with them, and how well and people are better off. So SureImpact, the way we think or the way we're organized is we know that you have programs, and every nonprofit on this call, over the 126,000 nonprofits that are addressing social determinants of health in the US, we know that each of you call your programs different things. You have different outcomes you're measuring within those programs. So we make it very easy, no code, to add a program whenever you want. Within SureImpact, you get to define the name, you get to describe what it is, you get to put in, we know you may be tracking individual level outcomes in that program, or it might be a non-client based program where you're tracking aggregate outcomes. Maybe it's an outreach fair, or you're just doing a community event and you want to record the number of people who came to that community event. So we give you the flexibility to set up your programs. And then once you set up your programs, we know that within those programs, you are measuring outcomes. We have a best practice measures library of over 300 best practice measures. And so you go in there and find the measures that are most relevant to you. And if we don't have them in our library, we give you the ability to build them yourself. So we have a very easy, let's say housing is one of those. I can look at these different housing metrics and decide which ones I might want to measure for my program. Or again, we have our measures builders, but we know you have programs, and within those programs, you are going to deliver services. And again, every nonprofit service is called something different. So we provide you the ability to add your own services. You name it, whatever you want. So we know you're providing programs to services to the clients, and what we define as clients are whether it's students or participants or community members or neighbors or residents, whatever you call the people, the direct services you're providing to in SureImpact, we call those clients. And you need to know about that particular client and what you are doing with this client. So before I show you all our analytics, I just want to give you a quick walkthrough of how your team would be using SureImpact every single day that allows you then to have those impact analytics at your fingertips. So let's say A Test is a new client for me. I have all of their demographic data in here, everything I need to understand about who they are in their intake forms. And you get to define those, no code required, a very easy drag and drop features for you to build out what we would call your intake form or your demographic forms. So we have A Test, we know everything about who she is, where she lives, whatever demographic data you need to collect about her. And as your team is working with her, they will see the list of all the potential activities that you could provide her, as well as then what programs your nonprofit offers. And as someone is enrolled in a program within SureImpact, so this particular person is enrolled in the home delivery meal program right now. You can enroll people in multiple programs. That will dictate what measures they see in their list of measures. So if A Test, let's say they've come in today and I want to record that I coordinated a meal for her today, I can record how many hours that took me, and I can make my notes with driver to come whatever your notes are. So this is more of your program management. You can assign which staff did that work. If there were multiple people involved, you can add more clients to one record. I'll also walk close. I know some of you have more group programming, or you may or after school programming. So I'll show you quickly how we handle cohorts or classes as well within SureImpact. So I'm going to save that. So I've made a note, I've made an activity, what I did. And then maybe I want to also, today is the day I need to assess the food stability. I have a rule that I need to assess food stability every quarter. So I'm going to go in and record that this person had a food security measure. This is the Arizona self-sufficiency. And this individual still needs assistance. So I'm going to give them a rating of a 3. I can add any notes here, and I'm going to save it. So that's how your team would be using SureImpact as any given time. They're just recording what they're doing, updating any outcomes that are part of the process, enrolling and unenrolling people in relevant programs. They will then have access to all of the notes. So if they want to go back, or if your supervisor wants to meet with a particular person to see everything they've done, see how they're moving the needle on key outcomes that may be important to you, all those outcome measures would be listed here. So you'll see the history of everything that has happened. You also can upload files. So if you needed to upload, whether it is a lease form or a grade card or a PDF or a permission slip, or any of those documents that you want to have it easy access for you for this particular individual, you can upload that there. So that's how our case management feature works, where you're giving your team an ability to have everything you're seeing and doing with them in one place. It is so much better to use this than Excel or Google Forms due to the security, the non-corruptibleness of it. You'll have a change log. So if anyone ever modified or edited something, you'd be able to see everything that happened and who did that. So again, it really helps digitize your data and gives you access to everything that's happening in one place. Before I go into our analytics session, I just want to share one particular feature related to creating client groups. So if you do provide cohorts, let's say you have, an 8-week class and you've got the same groups enrolled in that class. So you can create what we call a client group, which you get to name, and you basically enroll people in this client group. And then when you go have that class, it's very easy to take attendance. So if I was having my financial literacy class today, I would go into that particular service. I would say, I want to add my clients to this, make a note that our class was 2 hours. It was on today. And we talked about budgets. I can then find that class. Everybody that is in that class shows up now in my attendance. And then if somebody did not attend that particular class, I can just remove them from the attendance and sign the instructor for that particular class, save it. Now it is populating all of that class data into those client records and for our analytics. So that's the client intake piece. That's how people interact and use our data. Now, as they're using the information, as they're putting data in and they're using SureImpact as they go along, SureImpact's doing all the math for you. It's doing all the analytics. It's providing you answering those questions about what did we do? How many hours of service? Who did we serve? And it's giving you access to your outcomes. So as you're looking at your impact dashboards here, what SureImpact will be doing is giving you a sense of how people are better off. So let's look at this one measure here, community involvement stability. So what this is showing us is that at the beginning, the first time we interacted with our customers or your clients, 64% of them had what you would consider successful community involvement. Currently, 64% of them have, and those individuals who have had at least 2 measures that were at success and maintained their success, 60% have. Because it's not just, yes, we want to get people to a successful outcome, but we also want people to maintain that outcome. And so SureImpact will give you that longitudinal impact as well. Same, you can look at our employment status here, and whatever the tiles are going to show up on your dashboard are related to whatever the outcomes are that your organization is measuring. So if we look at employment status, we can see the percentage of clients who are employed at the beginning, currently, and those who have maintained employment. So think about how easy it would be if you needed to write a grant and go talk to your funder about how do you measure success, what processes are you using to measure it, and what outcomes you've experienced to date. So this is meant to be just a snapshot, just a quick picture of what's working and what's not working. Then our next feature I want to show you is our analytics feature related to the robust reporting. The reporting that like if you wanted a human to pull these numbers for you, it would take them days and days to create these types of analytics for you and reports for you and give back to you. And in SureImpact, they're right there at your fingertips. So in our analytics, and everything I'm showing you is no code, meaning that SureImpact is just analyzing this information as you're using our platform. So it's able to show you program enrollments, broken down by race, gender, ethnicity. You'll see how people are moving in and out of your programming. And everything here is interactive. So if you were a multi-state program and wanted to understand what's going on in Ohio, if you click onto that, it's going to update your dashboards for you immediately and giving you insights into what's going on in that particular state. It's breaking everything down by different program names. It's showing you by trends over time. You have the data in graphs and in table format. You're also able to see place-based analysis. We know postal codes is really important. The same type of analysis are available related to your services. So you're able to quickly see at a glance how many services hours, unique clients served, number of service activities, again, by different service types, by programs. So very robust data and information. We also have our filter data that allows you to do things like if you want to understand how many service hours did we do for people who successfully were able to age in place, for example, if that was one of your measures. And so you can filter your dashboards by, hey, pull everyone that we have been able to get them to have successfully age in place. How many service hours did it take to get there? So think about when you're making a request and you're talking to your donors about what it really takes to get someone to a successful outcome of aging in place. In this case, it's 21 hours. They need 13 services. So you can start to then tell them how much that costs for you to deliver that to get your population successfully aging in place. So again, just imagine what this would do for your ability to tell your story and understand your impact data. And then the last thing I wanted to share with you related to our services analytics is our measures analytics. And this particular, this is where we're going to go deep into how people are better off. So let's go to that employment measure that we had there before. These are alphabet, our employment status. So let's say you want to understand, how is my nonprofit helping people gain employment? And this data will show you the percentage of clients who are successful at gaining full-time employment. And then it's going to break down that success rate by program, by location, by race, by gender, by time. And so really giving you great insights into the success rate and what might be causing that success rate, because you are able to then analyze employment status versus, let's say you want to look at what's the relationship between employment status and someone's financial well-being score. So if someone has a score of 25, what percentage of them are successfully employed? Well, 100% of those who get to a financial well-being score of 25. So again, you get to start to understand not only what you did, but why people are better off. What's driving that success? So I'm going to stop there. And before I start to introduce our opportunity to invite you into our January cohort, just see if anyone has questions about SureImpact and how it works. And, you know, any specific questions as I transition into the opportunity to join our cohort. Yes. Do I have global organizations? We do have global organizations. We have a collaborative license that you might be interested in learning more about. I'm currently really focused on our individual nonprofit license, but one of our customers is a group called Project Rescue. They work in over 30 countries across the world. And so the US is the parent organization, and then they have global sites, and each global site has their own SureImpact instance, and all of the data flows up to the parent organization. That's one way we can set it up, or you can have one license, and as long as your teams in other countries can have access to, whether it's a mobile device, a tablet, a laptop, but as long as it's connected to a Wi-Fi, 5G, 4G, some sort of internet connection, they're able to access SureImpact and enter the data as well, which then would roll up to your environment here in the US in real time. So it's pretty cool. Okay, let me get back to my slideshow here. Great question. We have seen over the last 4 years, as our customer base has grown, we've seen our customers raise significant more money. So I'll tell the story of Dr. Tracy Perryman. She is based out of Toledo, Ohio, and runs a nonprofit called Center of Hope. They provide after-school programming, two-generation workforce development support, some childcare, child support, kind of helping families get access to the child support they need. And they are using SureImpact to track how they're increasing educational outcomes for students, as well as workforce and job outcomes for families. With the SureImpact data and insights, they put that all together in their impact and value report, which they use to socialize their impact to funders. Dr. Tracy Perryman reports increasing her revenue 50% year over year. And just recently, they were able to raise enough money to build or to move into a brand new after-school facility, expand into several different schools, and now their funders have paid for them to build a learning management system so they can train other nonprofits across the country to use their culturally based, evidence-based model. And all of that because they have access to this data. We have seen customers get significant Google grant funding because they have access to these impact data. We've seen our customers get multi-million-dollar grants from state departments to scale and grow their programs. We've seen some of our customers get those coveted Mackenzie Scott grants, all because of their ability to consistently track and share their impact story. And we also hear from not our customers. Our customers have said yes, they've come all in. But we've also heard from the nonprofit sector that they want this. They're ready for this. They know their nonprofits need this type of information and impact, but they're currently using Excel or using some other platform that is not an impact measurement platform, and they don't know where to start. So they're stopping themselves because they don't know where to start. So what we want to offer to the nonprofits that are in that situation is a cohort model where we're not just giving you access to the technology, but we're wrapping around it with you information, like all the knowledge, the skill, the coaching, hand-holding that we used to provide in our consulting services, but just giving that all to you so that you are ready to go and we can get you launched and up and running. So as part of this cohort, we'll work with you to develop your impact measurement framework so that you know you're measuring the right outcomes. You'll also be able to participate in 12 monthly coaching sessions that will follow a logical path. It'll start with the measurement framework and really understanding what should you measure. Then once we get through those particular measures, then we'll start to talk about getting your board and your staff engaged with using SureImpact, as well as using that as actionable insight data. How do you create an impact-centric organization? And then in the third half of the program will be all focused on how do you take that data to tell your story, and all culminating into a pitch event where you'll have the opportunity to share your impact with, and we'll invite as many funders as we can to hear your impact, to hear your story, and hopefully help you attract new resources to your nonprofits because you're now very data-driven and impact-focused. You also will get part of this, a one-year SureImpact license, where you can manage up to 3 of your programs. If you want to manage more than 3 of your programs throughout the cohort, you'll have the opportunity to do that. an upgraded fee. And then we will also provide with you all of the implementation, onboarding, training, and constant support to make sure that you are as successful as possible of transforming your culture to being more data-driven and impact-focused. So again, we talked a little bit about our comprehensive training. Most of the sessions will either be led by me or by other high-performing, well-known consultants and leaders in the space. You will have access to the technology, most leading cutting-edge technology to date related to impact measurement. You'll be in a cohort, so you won't be alone. You'll get to learn from each other and connect with other like-minded nonprofits. We love the synergies we often see when we're working in cohorts together, because you can introduce each other to new partnerships or new funding opportunities or other evidence-based practices that maybe you didn't know about, which will just ultimately strengthen your organization, as well as specific coaching calls that are personalized to your work. You'll work with SureImpact's customer success team to make sure that your SureImpact environment is set up exactly for how you need it to be set up. And as a result, you will experience the same results our other customers have experienced: increased efficiency, funding, and stronger stakeholder relationships. So we hope after you're done with this 1-year program, you'll be able to demonstrate your impact and have access to real-time impact, which will lead to increased funding opportunities. Again, we'll be creating a curated pitch event where you'll have the opportunity to pitch your nonprofit to funders who are ready and willing to write you grants to help you further your mission. You'll know what's working and what's not, so you can increase your program effectiveness, have more efficient systems related to collecting data and looking at data, and then building stronger connections with funders. So I'm sure you're all sitting here wondering, Sherry, this sounds amazing. Our organization would love to participate, but what's the cost? And so there is a cost to participate, but is so much value versus the cost to participate. So with that, again, we talked about getting your comprehensive impact measurement framework development, which is estimated to be about $5,000. The 12 months of coaching, which is estimated about $5,500. You'll get the 1-year SureImpact license for up to 3 programs, which is valued at $12,500. The change management, onboarding, and support, which is valued at around $10,000. And then, of course, access to funders is priceless, because those relationships you will build with those funders could create sustainable business models for you year over year over year. So we're estimating the value of this program is upwards to, at a minimum, it's around $32,000, but definitely so much more than that. And for those 20 organizations who we accept into this January cohort, the investment for them will be $10,000 if you pay annually, or 12 monthly payments of $850 a month. And so we are super excited to be able to provide not only the technology, but all of this wraparound support, less than what the technology would cost at retail value. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about this program at the time. And then also here is a link to the application. It is now open and available to our website. So are there any questions that I can answer regarding this program? All right, thank you, Rhonda, for the feedback. Yes, we do know, like, some nonprofits get a little bit scared of the particular investment. But when you think about the people costs that it would take to have this data, analyze this data, we are looking at well beyond the program investment, as well as then the funding that it would track for your organization. Let's see. Lindsay asked, does SureImpact have the ability to communicate with clients? Can API be used to move data from funder-required systems into SureImpact? So the answer is, right now, we can upload any data within SureImpact that is out. So if you have another system you have to use, we have very easy to use upload features. We do have open APIs. However, that would still require a cost to you to build the bridge between that other system to SureImpact. So that you just take that into consideration. However, we can upload that data within SureImpact. And then does it have the ability to embed into a website through an automatic communication with the website? So we do have a permission that is looking at the sorry, I got distracted. So we do have what's called a funder and view only of your analytics. And so that we could talk about how would you get that particular view embedded in your website, if that was a desire of yours. And then what is the difference between what Angela Maleka is doing? So that's a great question. There is a Collaborative Arts Institute cohort, which Angela which is powered by SureImpact. So Maleka Creative Advisors has created this Arts Impact Collaborative. They are using SureImpact to measure the impact of the arts. This particular offer is really meant to be for direct service providers who are addressing social determinants of health. So if you are arts specific, I'm happy, and you're not already connected with the Collaborative Arts Institute, I would invite you to join that cohort because that's kind of what they're doing, but doing that around specifically the impact of arts and culture organizations. If you're outside of that, then this cohort is for you.
Sherry,
Yeah.
this is Sandra. Thank you so much for this amazing presentation and for the work that you're doing. It's definitely so needed. Can you clarify what you just said? So if we are not providing direct services, then we are not eligible to be in the cohort at this time?
So what services do you provide?
So we are a very eclectic of organizations. We do provide trainings,
Okay.
usually in collaboration to our nonprofits, for people to learn self-regulation tools and stress management tools to be delivered as a way to provide the services that whatever they provide. But we will never be the direct providers. We work with the providers of services.
Yeah. So you do provide services. You just provide services to, your services are to nonprofits or leaders, right?
Correct. We provide services to usually executives or professionals within other nonprofits.
Yes, yeah. So you're providing services. I maybe should clarify that when we mean direct services, who we would not be right for is, let's say your nonprofit is just raising, like your whole mission is to raise money for cancer research, for example. We're not like a fundraising software.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. Yes.
Yep. Great. Well,
you know that in the grant applications that usually is a disqualifier when we're looking for grants because they want direct service providers. So I'm like, oh no.
All right. Yeah. We'll make modifications. That's why we have this call, right? To understand what might be confusing. So we can clarify what we mean by direct service. Thank you. Thank you, Trisha. Yeah, I'm happy to also have any one-on-one calls. If you are looking for something more robust and you're looking for, your own bespoke program or system, this really is a great opportunity for people who know they need impact measurement, but want to, be part of a cohort in a training and do it all together. If your organization is beyond that and ready to jump on in, and you know what you need to measure, and how you want to roll it out with your organization, then, feel free to interact with us one-on-one as well. So again, thank you for the opportunity to share this information with you. If there are no further questions, I will go ahead and give everyone a little bit of time back. But again, thank you. Laurel Rodriguez, our Director of Marketing, will be following up with this information, the video, so you can watch it again if you want to share it with others in your network. We highly encourage you, if you know other nonprofit leaders who could benefit from this, invite them to apply. We also would like you to, we have the application open, so you can go ahead and apply. We'll tweak that language related to direct service providers. And then if you have any other questions about this opportunity or SureImpact in general, please feel free to reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to schedule one-on-one calls to discuss this further. So thank you so much. I hope we have the opportunity to work together in the coming year. And until next time, keep measuring and achieving excellence.